Day 3 was a free day for the rally. Teams could go wherever they wanted and do whatever they wanted to do. This was done because we were in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's a couple hours from a lot of neat places. There's the Grand Canyon, the Petrified Forest, the Painted Desert, Sedona, Meteor Crater, and of course, Route 66 runs right through the center of town. With so many choices, we didn't want to set an agenda for the day. We wanted to allow teams to choose their own day. My wife and I team up with a few other rally teams and decide to visit the Grand Canyon. This was a new place for all of us. And if you've never been to this place, you need to visit it. Yes, it's a big hole in the ground as some have described it, but the beauty and scale is unlike anything you've ever seen before. It won't translate well in this video or really any video. You're getting a glimpse of what's there. The depth and just how immense that place really is what you or really anyone who hasn't been there can't grasp from a simple video or photo. We spend the better part of the day in the park. We had to hike in at some of the overlooks and simply park at others and take a few steps. It is truly a grand canyon. The Colorado River did an excellent job over the estimated 5 to 6 million years it took to carve out the canyon. Day 4 of the rally, and today's route would take us along old Route 66. I mean all of the old route that is paved. The southwest portion of Route 66 is very well preserved. Many of the towns and cities were the last to be bypassed by the interstate. These cities realized that Route 66 was special and would draw visitors for a long time into the future. First up is one of my favorite stops, Williams, Arizona. It was once a frontier town filled with cowboys, loggers, and railroad workers. Gambling and prostitution were legal in one area of the town until 1907. It was the last town to be bypassed by Interstate 40 in late 1984. It is also home to civic-minded citizens who forged a community and created a classic downtown, now listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Next, we visit Ash Fork, the town of 396 people that proclaims itself to be the flagstone capital of the world. We visit the Route 66 Museum. It's a nice museum with several historical displays. The folks working there were welcoming to us and to the group, and more than happy to answer any questions we may have had. A few miles up the road, we visit Seligman. It's known as the birthplace of historic Route 66. This is due to the efforts of its residents, most notably Angel Delgadillo, the barber, who convinced the state of Arizona to dedicate Route 66 a historic highway. This grassroots effort to bring Route 66 back not only revitalized the town, but it caused worldwide interest in Route 66 and the old-fashioned Americana that it represents. There is plenty of places to check out in this town, but a not miss is the Snowcap. It's a Route 66/Americana decor and a classic menu of burgers, malts, shakes, but the staff jokes around with you when you order, and it's quite entertaining.
Oh my, why am I not recording this?
I don't know. Why are you not recording this?
You want ice cream of some sort?
The Hackleberry General Store was our next stop. First built in 1934, it is described as a ramshackle. It has changed owners several times over the years, always with the understanding that the new owner would maintain the store's dilapidated charm. It is the only outpost of civilization for miles around. Its gas pumps have been dry for decades, but it still has a real working outdoor payphone because there's no mobile service in Hackleberry. I would put this on a must-see list for anyone traveling along Route 66. And the award for most interesting bathroom wall art goes to Hackleberry along Route 66. Next up is the Gigantus Heticus out front of the Route 66 Antares Visitor Center and Gift Shop. It's a quick stop with some really nice people manning the operation. You get a drink inside, the drinks are cold, and there's a few things to check out while you're there. Next up, Kingman, Arizona. Built as the heart of historic Route 66. There are several restaurants in town that can trace their heritage back to the Route 66 heydays. I would recommend Mr. D's Route 66 Diner or Rutherford's 66 Family Diner. We did stop by the Diamond Distillery as one of the folks in our group enjoys trying a few different spirits. Another good stop is the Arizona Route 66 Museum. It is certainly one of the better museums in the entire route. It has a really good photo opportunity out front. Continuing west on Old Route 66, we stumble into Cool Springs Station. Built in the mid-1920s, it had a cafe, a bar, and cabins. Route 66 bypassed it in 1953, and the station was abandoned in 1964. Adding insult to injury, its ruins were blown up for the 1991 Dolph Lundgren / Jean-Claude Van Damme film, Universal Soldier. How awful is that? Fortunately, Ned Luxner, a real estate agent from Chicago, bought it and began its careful restoration based on vintage photographs. The work was completed by the end of 2004, and today it stands as a store. They have souvenirs, snacks, drinks, lots of nostalgia. Yes, this is a place you should stop. Our final Route 66 stop was a runaway favorite of the group. To get to Oatman, Arizona, you must first cross the Sidewinder. It's 9 miles long with 191 curves and constant elevation changes. Finally, a place where the Spider would be totally at home. There was one thing that required us to slow down on this road, and that was Oatman's primary resident, the donkey. Oatman was founded in 1906, and by 1931, the mines had produced more than 1.8 million ounces of gold. It had become a booming city. In 1941, the United States government ordered all mines closed due to World War II. The donkeys that reside here are the descendants of those used as beasts of burden and abandoned by their owners when they left town. There are donkeys everywhere, in the hills, around the town. They roam the city streets freely by day. They are extremely used to tourists, and they approach with great confidence, hoping you'll give them something to eat. They stick their heads in the windows of your car, and they will walk right up to any vehicle. The town itself is a throwback to the Old West. Narrow streets with porches over the sidewalks. There are staged gunfights by people in costume every hour or so. We spent a considerable amount of time in town. Some of this was due to the heat. The temperature was 118 degrees, and one of the cars in our group had overheated on the Sidewinder. We decided to have lunch at the hotel where Clark Gable and Carl Lombard allegedly honeymooned in 1902. The place was filled with dollar bills. They were all stapled to the walls, ceilings, and really any flat surface. My cheeseburger was awesome. The overheated car had cooled down during lunch, enough that we could add water, so we jumped on the road to Las Vegas. As to the Fiat, nothing to note here. It seemed fine. It didn't seem to care that the air temp outside was 121 at one point. The city of Las Vegas welcomed our group with open arms. They closed the street in front of City Hall and allowed us to park our cars there for our end-of-event ceremony. Stavros Anthony, Mayor Pro Tem, officially proclaimed that day be Rally North America Day in the city of Las Vegas. This was very thoughtful of the mayor, and he was kind enough to attend and address our group, which was just great. Awards were handed out to the teams that had placed each day in the scavenger hunt, as well as those for hard luck, long distance traveled, best costume, and finally for the Spirit of the Rally, which is our most coveted award. Our charity, Hope for the Warriors, who also ran every day of our event, spoke about their mission, why it was important, and thanked everyone for their support. Just like that, our event, which had been the reason for the trip and the catalyst for seeing so many places over the last 4 days, was over. It had all gone well. A big thanks to all our teams who conducted themselves well and who as a group raised over $222,000 in direct donations to our charity. These folks have been class acts throughout the event. I think they thoroughly enjoyed themselves doing it. The next morning we say a few goodbyes and head towards home, but not the way we came in. After a top-down drive through the Vegas Strip and a stop at the Welcome to Las Vegas sign, we head northeast on Route 15. Our first stop was Pioneer Park in St. George, Utah. We check out the St. George Narrows and walk around the park for 20 minutes or so. It was a really hot day with temperatures hitting 107 degrees, so we didn't stay as long as we would have liked to. Route 15 intersects with Route 70. We take Route 70 and we're headed in a more easterly direction. Route 70 in Utah is one of the most scenically pleasing interstates in the country. You start out in the mountains until you hit the high desert. There are plenty of overlooks and rock formations of multiple colors. We end the evening in Green River, Utah with the intention of hitting Arches National Park in the morning. FYI, Arches now requires a reservation for you to tour the park. The earliest time I could reserve was between noon and 1. We decided to cruise around Moab a little bit in the morning, as there are much worse places in the world to have to kill a little time. The following morning is day 10 of living in a Fiat 124 Spider. We are no worse for wear. However, the Spider is dusty on the outside, has a few tumbleweeds stuffed in here and there, and is dirty on the inside. Even with all that, it shows no signs of slowing down as we head into Arches. The drive-in is a fun, steep one. Features a couple of switchbacks, but once you get inside, you're just amazed by what you see. I'm sure you've all seen photos or film of this park, but once again, it's a place you just need to see in person to actually grasp. We visit Window Arch, Turret Arch, Double Arch, and all these require a short hike in, but no more than 1.25 miles, something like that. Next up is Lower Delicate Arch. We visit Wolf Ranch. We move on to Surprise Arch, Sand Dune Arch, and finally Devil's Garden. We've now been in the park for the better part of 4.5 hours, and we still need to make our way out. So we decide hiking to any of the further arches is out of the question. It's stunning to be there, but I think you would need an entire day to take in all the park has to offer, and you'd still miss a lot of it. We take our time driving out, and here's a tip to anyone visiting Arches. Make sure you take Route 128, either either in or out of the park. It's one of my favorite drives in the country. You drive right beside the Colorado River through a canyon. The river is carved out of red stone for the better part of 20 miles. It's truly a stunning yet fun drive with turns and small hills. It eventually will lead you to 70 just east of Cisco, Utah. Next, we visit the Colorado National Monument. This is one of those places that gets overlooked but shouldn't. The park offers great views of unique rock formations. Some of the overlooks are not for those who suffer from the fear of heights. The drop-offs just past the railings are thousands of feet down. However, they are very awesome. Heavy winds appeared while we were in the park, and with them came a cold front and a bit of rain. In the park at altitude, it was a cool 66 degrees. We visited several of the overlooks and made our way out of the park. We drove the twisty road out of the park, and the Spider was right at home again. We make our way to Parachute, Colorado for the evening. We had knocked out many miles off the trip home, but we saw so much that day, it really didn't bother us. Day 11. We were determined to put some miles in today. Our home was still 1,850 miles away. Of course, that didn't stop us from hiking up a mountain to Doc Holliday's gravesite. It was a hike, but it's Doc Holliday we're talking about, so it was worth it. We put some miles down after that, but when the opportunity came to see Buffalo Bill's ranch house, we were going to take it. Originally consisting of 4,000 acres, Scouts Rest Ranch, the historic park, now consists of 16 acres. They contain Buffalo Bill's home, as well as barns, outbuildings. The house is Cody's second Empire Mansion, built in 1886 at a cost of $3,900. It has been restored and filled with period-appropriate furnishing, as well as a ton of Buffalo Bill memorabilia. The barn once used to house horses now contains a collection of antique carriages that belonged to Bill, as well as a variety of memorabilia from the days of his world-famous Wild West show. We take a tour of the barn as well as the mansion and see a ton of Buffalo Bill things, and we're back on the road. We drive past sunset and finally find a hotel with a room for the evening just east of Lincoln, Nebraska. 682 miles were banked today, and that's not too bad. Day 12, we, meaning me, decided we should go due east through Iowa on Route 34 and see what it offers up. First was Johnny Carson's childhood home, a very modest home that was only open if you called ahead, and we didn't, so we pressed on. Hours later, we see a road sign. Make a right to see the Anne Frank Pen Pal Museum. We're in the middle of Iowa, so sure, let's check that out. We pull up to a small library, walk inside, and are told in 1939 the local teacher, Bertie Matthews, thought it'd be a good idea for her students to exchange letters with children from Europe. She arranged for her class to write letters to a class from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Juanita Wagner, a 13-year-old girl in Miss Matthews' class, received her response from her assigned pen pal. It was the first and only letter, and it was signed off with her full name, Annalise Marie Frank. It was dated April 29th, 1940. A few days later, Germany invaded the Netherlands. A couple of years after that, the Frank family went into hiding, and a few years after that, Anne Frank died in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. A copy of Anne's letter to a young Juanita is on display in Danville. The exhibit features a lot of history from the World War II era. National, international, and local displays adorn the walls throughout the exhibit. The exhibit also displays a copy of the letter Anne's older sister Margot sent to Juanita's older sister Betty. There's a replica of the Amsterdam attic where the Franks hid for more than 2 years and where Anne wrote her famous diary. The letters were sold for $150,000 at a New York auction and donated to the Smith Wiesenthal Center in Los Angeles. It's a human rights organization where they remain today. Danville is the only site with permission to display copies. It is often said every place has a story. Sometimes you have to dig a little to find out what that story is, and some of the stories are a little more interesting than others. Danville, Iowa, population 931, is one of those places with an interesting story to tell. We get back on the road and drive past sunset, landing in Richmond, Indiana. 708 miles were logged for the day. Day 13, I don't have a lot of photos or video. We're 460 miles from home, so we decided to just pedal down, buckle down, and make it. Be nice to sleep in our own bed. There was one stop for gas and to use the restroom in West Virginia. Next thing we know, we're home. We'd like to thank the 93,724 bugs and 6 tumbleweeds that gave their lives so that we could make these memories. The Fiat for doing a good job. The car got 34 miles to the gallon. It didn't give us an issue. And as long as we stopped every so often, it really didn't bother us to drive it that far. The car got the entire spa treatment when it came back. I gave it an oil change, a thorough cleaning. It's roughly 10 hours getting that car back to where it was before we left. So at the beginning of this trip, I asked if this was a great idea to take a small car like this and drive it that far across the country for this long a period of time. And the answer is yes. Yes, it was. The car did great. It was a trooper. To be able to put the top down in places like the $1 Million Highway and arches, it gives you a different, opening. You have a different line of sight. Having that small car also necessitated that we stop every so often. Now, let's face it, a road trip, it isn't a road trip unless you experience the country. You get out and see things. If you're not going to do that, if you're just going to straight across the country, you might as well fly. So, yeah, the Fiat was a good choice. It required us to get out because of the size of it and the inability to really move around in the cabin. So it caused us to do that. I want to thank all of you for coming along on this journey. If you missed part 1 or 2, I'm going to put links somewhere over here for both part 1 and part 2. I do appreciate you sticking in there with us and following this. I know road trips aren't the most popular videos, but I like to document just kind of what we do with our vehicles. So once again, thanks for coming along. Until next time, we'll see you.